couple of minutes late.
I'm gonna check here if we're also live. Yes, we're live.
Yay! We're live. Hello, family. Hello, beautiful people, beautiful souls. Thank you for being with us this evening on or daytime or whatever time it is for you for self-love talks tonight. And I'm actually in a really beautiful space right now. I've just been connecting with Yasmine, and we've just been really tuning in and feeling what wants to come through tonight and be shared on this interview. And I've been looking forward to it actually since we had the idea a few weeks ago. So I'm really, really happy to be here. I'm just going to get my, hold on a sec. I'm just going to get my Facebooky thingy open so I can see you guys in the live. Bear with me. That's the one. That's it. Everyone can everyone see and hear us? Everything fine? Everything good? Wonderful. All right, so thanks for being here. If you feel like sharing this on your page or starting a watch party, please feel free, because we're going to explore the I Love You Me method. We're going to explore, well, I'm going to tell you first of all where it came from, how it came about, why it was created, and what it can do. And Yasmine is going to share with you all, Yasmine Atallah, she's a beautiful soul, lives in Dubai currently, from the Lebanon originally. And I'm gonna fully introduce her in a moment, actually, because I want to build you up a little bit, Yas, before we start.
Take your time.
But I just want to say you won't be disappointed if self-love is something that you're interested in, or healing, or clearing your conditioning, any traumas, any pain, any hurts, opening up to receive your gifts, to abundance, to your soul purpose, to expanding your consciousness, all kinds of things we're gonna talk about, and Yasmine's going to share her journey with you all, and that's going to be really beautiful, and we're going to give you some very clear practical information and how to at the end. So I hope you stay with us. So Yasmine, first of all, just thanks for being here, sweetheart. It's really lovely to share this space with you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for being a wonderful teacher and a mentor too. I love you.
Oh, thank you. All right. We get into a bit of a love puddle. Right. I want to share with you, first of all, how I Love You Me came about. And I'm not going to go into the whole story. A lot of you know my whole story and how I grew up, and the whole thing, being a mum and giving birth and all of these incredible things. But I've been thinking about this the last few weeks. Like, how did I come to receive this information, this gift? How did I get here? And when you think back, and it's like these little memories that I'd forgotten about flashed up, and I was able to start joining the dots, and I was like, oh my goodness, it kind of makes sense. No wonder that this is what happened. So I was an artist. I was always an artist. I grew up in an environment of healing. I grew up in an environment of love and spirituality and truth, real deep heart truth. And so, of course, all of that went in. But me, my little soul just wanted to create. I was just every single day driven to create. I loved art. I loved dance. I loved just making anything and everything. And yet what mattered most to me, even more than creating, was unconditional love. And actually back then in the 80s and the 90s, it was really, I didn't really hear about even this word unconditional love until the 90s happened, when everybody started going off about it. But for me, it was just like, I wanted there to be more love in the world. And I knew that I needed a kind of love that was solid, that was real, that was practical, that was human, that was earthly, that would fill up all the gaps inside of me that I felt were missing, and that made me ultimately want to escape out of my body and kind of be up there in the clouds, go back up to spirit, go back up to the light. And I found it very, very hard to deal with anything that was dark or painful or traumatic. And I just wanted to avoid the whole lot. And what happened when all of this method started coming through, it was really about that coming into wholeness with myself, building that bridge between my spiritual body, my mental and my emotional sense of self, and being physically, practically here in my human form on this earth. And the more people that I did soul readings with, the more people I realized also were like me, and I wasn't so alone, and I wasn't so weird, and I wasn't so different, because everybody I saw being able to read souls and see all this energy were also not fully in their body, and all of the pieces started to come into place. So what happened? I asked for answers. I asked for guidance that could help put these things in place for other people and for myself. And I got a lot of, let's say, psychic, spiritual support, as well as being able to see inside of people and see, as this method was developed, what clicked inside someone's head, what dropped down inside with their breath when they breathed a certain way, what transpired and transformed and transmuted in their emotional bodies, giving more clarity in their physical body, making more way for their spirit to dwell inside this physical vessel. And I was literally watching all these pieces drop in as this beautiful, let's call it a system, a method, just a simple self-love conversation and breathing practice came into place, and it all took form. And what I understood then was that even with the power of intention, with the power of the mind, and powerful though that is, that actually the heart field, the resonance of us when we are fully conscious in our heart, in that experience of the unconditional love that we are, or source love, or prime creator love, true love, that we actually are, when we're in that experience consciously and coming from that place, living from that place, the heart field becomes incredibly powerful, incredibly transmutive. And I mean, it's a communicator, it's an attractor, it's a dissolver of darkness, it's a dissolver of fear. It's divine. It's embodying the divinity that we are in this human form. And something else happens. This human and this divine that we are not, we're not balancing or from one to the other, trying to reconcile both. We become the two, they merge. And then what happens is something completely new is born, the new human, the new earth. And I could see this developing in my clients. And I was getting very strong messages from the children that are not yet born, or weren't, there probably are a lot of them born now in this body. But back then I was getting really strong messages from the children who were in that, you could call it heaven, that particular place in spirit where they've chosen their mum and dad and they're waiting to come through. And I was this full channel open to them for a couple of years. And they were just like, we want to come down through clear channels. We want to be born. So when we birth a baby, we're not just birthing a body, we're birthing a whole soul. We're birthing a pure divine spirit. And if our tubes are mucky, if you like, our tubes of our mind, our emotions, our state of health, our state of alignment is mucky and off, that affects the child being born into the world. It's like they kind of end up with the gloop at the end of the drain pipe, if you know what I mean, if it's not been cleaned out. So they were like, we want to come through clear channels. And I could see what was going to happen in this future, because past, present, and future are all actually one reality. And I was able to see what would happen when these souls came into their bodies through clear channels, and they were able to be fully incarnate as much as possible anyway, as much as humanly possible at this time and this level of consciousness, and how that would procreate and create the new earth and what that would look like. Now, some of you might be thinking this is a bit far out, but I'm going to let you know that this is actually very, very real, not just with my experience and not just with lots of other people's experiences that have come into contact with this method. But what's really special tonight is that Yasmine has decided to join me, has agreed to join me and share her experience, her personal experience of what's unfolded for her. So Yasmine, by the way, Yasmine, actually, I'm just going to let you tell people who you are, actually. I think you'll do a better job of it.
Thank you, Tara. Again, thank you for having me tonight. It's an honor and a pleasure. I'm also really honored to be part of the I Love You Me community, the I Love You Me Live in Light Academy as well. And so I'm born and raised in Lebanon, and actually, I'm originally Lebanese, born and raised in Dubai. And all my life, I've been here. And my whole life started with me wanting to be a career woman and grow and everything. This is everything I knew about life. I knew that there was depth to life. I knew that there was much more meaning. I had my own ideologies, per se. I'm an Aquarian, so I'm a free spirit, they say. And I had my own ideologies and everything. And as I journeyed within life, I thought that the only thing that is there for life is just to get that degree, go to work, get that money, fulfill your life. It's a means to an end and everything. And I did banking, and I believe I excelled in it. And if I stayed, I would have excelled even more. I know that, and I'm certain. But deep down, as I was shifting careers, as I was moving banks, I was reliving the same experience over and over again. There was something inside of me that was saying that there is something that is not right. Like I'd get this promotion, and something inside of me would say, this is not, it doesn't feel right. I don't feel fulfilled. My soul yearns that. And when I get it, it's like, it doesn't mean anything. This is not what life is all about. As I was seeking, my journey began with a lot of modalities. I learned to be a life coach, and I learned tarot reading. I did a lot of stuff. But even as I was moving forward, there was something that was still missing. I was still feeling like I needed that tool that would actually take me to that depth, or that realness per se, that would actually help people transform by just being there for them. And I always had this thing inside of me where I love to see people happy. Like I remember one of my goals was, I just want to make someone smile. Today, just for today, I just at least have someone smile. So I knew that deep down there was something that I needed within me, which is to help people. And that's what put me on the journey. And I was still working by then. And I decided to leave my job until my friend, my beautiful friend Rona, and I thank her for that. She saw the event, the 2-day event that you were giving about the I Love You Me method, which was just an introduction of what this method was. And I remember we were on the VIP row, and I'm sitting in the front seat.
I remember too.
Yeah, I was on the front seat. And as I was listening to your story, for me, I was like, wow, like I could feel like I'm taking your footsteps, and I can feel that this is where I want to go. I want to be a soul reader, because not because I want to see through people because that's what I want to know about them. It's because I want to feel at that deeper level. I want to connect with people at that deeper level. And I didn't know what all that entails.
Mm. So it's the authenticity.
It's
The
the realness. It's rather than, and I'm still learning that. Sometimes I'm still on the journey of actually being able to express myself fully and authentically. And I know that it's a journey. It's not a one switch button, because you're like undoing and unlearning conditioning of years. I'm 33 years old, so I've learned to live my life in a certain way, and then turning the boat around, like you've explained it to us as well. And it's like this big heavy shipment, and it has all these parcels and everything, and turning it around will take time. And but turning it around with love, ease, and grace, and with that inner knowing, I think that's all that matters. So when I attended the 2-day event and I heard the story, and I was like, wow, this is what I want to do. And I experienced whatever I experienced in terms of going in and meeting your inner child, which I believe is such a sacred being within us that we've neglected. And whatever we do in our lives is just coming from that space, because we've not given it we've not given it attention and love. And this is what self-love is.
I'd love you to go into that a little bit more. Yeah, sorry. I know I could just sit back and just like let you roll. No, but just tell us a little bit more. Like when you say it's sacred, that inner child, the sacredness, what do you mean by that? For anyone that hasn't experienced that,
You
how
know,
does it feel for you?
for me, it's like tapping into that little baby inside, however it looks, however way it feels, and just being there in that connection and feeling that union and that integration of whatever it is. And it's like you rightly said, transmuting everything. It's like a newborn, you can't leave them. Like, I'm not a mother yet. I know that I will be one day. But I love kids. And for me, it's like when a newborn is there in life, you cannot neglect them. You cannot abandon them. You need to feed them, and you need to be gentle with them, and you need to give them a lot of compassion and love. Even when they're not able to communicate, they are communicating in a certain way, be it in the sound that they make, the way they are breathing, the things that you can see in their eyes. Connecting with them at that level brings that. It's sacred, it's magical. And when you connect to that little being within you, in my opinion, that's where all the love flourishes. That's where everything starts. That's where
That's the whole
that's
thing,
where
stuff,
that's where life begins. For me, this is
right?
where life begins.
And for a lot of people, there's a lot of trauma around not just being a baby and what happened in the beginning, because let's face it, when you get such a pure, amazing, sensitive, needy, beautiful little being and you're a parent for the first time, or even several times later, it doesn't mean that they get it right, right? Parents don't get it right. They can do a lot of things that are great, and they can do a lot of things that are, maybe not even aware of, that are not so good, that are having that damage, that are having that traumatic impact. But even before being a baby, that time in the birth, that time even in the womb, even the energy of conception that I've seen impacts, that's the conditioning
Yeah.
already before that happens. The state of a mother's body, the state of a father's body, state of their mind as they come together to procreate, whether it's conscious or unconscious, all of that goes into the child. So for a lot of people, the thought of going back and connecting with their little baby might feel a bit traumatic. So what would you say to anybody that was feeling that way about it? Like, would it be like, oh my God, I just don't want to go back there. I don't want to deal with the past. I don't want to have to dig it all up or have that trauma all over again.
What I say is, it takes one step at a time. And I think if you have that, I think if you're willing within your heart, like I wanted to visit these places. I've met other healers as well who take you to these places, and I think it's one step at a time. But what I loved about the I Love You Me is that it takes you through. This is what I felt, going in with the breath and holding and feeling that you're being held at all times, feeling that you're being present with whatever is there. Then for me, it's like there's nothing to fear. When you ask to be in the presence of another coach, it doesn't mean that you need to do it independently on your own all the time. I still get scared sometimes. There are still some things I want to see, but I still want someone to be with me.
Mm.
But it's because I would want to be held in that space where I'm being seen, heard, and felt. And that is the gift of being a coach. It's not about imposing something or like probing like I used to do initially at the start of my thing. We're not probing here. And this is the beauty of it. You're just gently opening up the doors of your own home, of your own temple, of that sacred space that you are, of what you said, of being in this body. And you're like visiting every spot within that home, within that space of who you are. And you're opening the windows. It's like you're in your own house, but you're just doing it inwardly, and you're just opening the window and you're like being curious and okay, so what's in there? So there is
And how
nothing.
does it usually feel? How does it usually feel when you find something that you forgot about and you
For me,
reconnect with it?
it's like a spark of realization. For me, it's sometimes connecting all the dots and bringing that awareness of, oh my god, this is what has been happening. you start listening with different ears, you start seeing with different eyes, you start smelling, you start tasting, you start sensing. And taking all this back to the inner, to that inner child. If I go back in regression and I am born at this moment, I believe every single child is born with a lot of awareness, and it's not easy on them. So whatever they are storing at that time is a bit overwhelming too. So bless them. The only thing that they can get from all of us is all the love. So that's so we're like doing this in reverse, going backwards in action and motion of you're not revisiting the past. You are visiting the spaces within yourself that need your utmost attention and love.
And nurtured. And that's how your gifts came online, isn't it? I want to talk to you about that in a minute. So you came to the workshop, you were sitting there with me for 2 days in a room full of other people, and Rona, beautiful Rona, I remember her, loads of love to you. And everybody that came to that, there was actually a couple of workshops in Dubai that year, back to back. And I can't wait till everything opens and we can do one of those again. But I know, right? Inshallah. So you're there. And then you heard about the I Love You Me self-love coach practitioner training, right?
Yeah.
Where you can train for a whole year and learn to become an I Love You Me coach. What led you to applying for that? Like, what happened?
So for me, there was an urge within my heart. I just felt that need and that urge. It wasn't a need. I just felt that this was the key that's going to turn everything around for me. That's the key that's going to change everything around for me. And I felt that I belonged to the school of love in a certain way, and I got validated with that later. So for me, this was the key thing. I wanted to see love everywhere, also around the world. So there was this urge, and then I just got in touch and I booked. And perhaps I didn't do it in the ideal, in the most ideal situation. Like, there are prerequisites and everything, and I did my level best to catch up on everything, because I had to make the decision at that time. I had left my job and I had budgeted for something else. And then I said, okay, what is it going to be? Is it this or that? And then that guidance that came from within my heart was telling me, no, this is it. And then I followed that without thinking so much about it. And I just booked
So how did you know? What was the feeling? Because I know a lot of people come into this and they're like, I don't know if I want to be a coach. Am I ready? Am I good enough? What's going to happen? My life will change too much. And they're a bit like, I don't know, and people start coming up with reasons. So how do you know if it's for you?
I think it's just it's that inner knowing. Something is nudging inside. There's this heartbeat that is in sync, that is in tune. Like, going back, I think I also had a lot of excitement, and I was nervous too. So, and we tend to mix both together. So sometimes, so we can get a bit nervous about, okay, what's happening next? And I don't know, what am I getting into? And it could be a bit of anxiety as well, because this is something new. This is something new. But I think the workshop as well, and how I connected, and in a way, I really connected with the path. I felt that this was really in line to me. I could see. I wasn't a seer that much to that level, but in that glimpse, I could see, where am I heading with all of this. So for me, it was like, I just feel that it feels right. It just feels true. It feels right. It feels like this is the thing that's filling the gap for me and turning everything around. So I wasn't concerned about my life changing per se, because this is all part of it. If you're going to make a choice to expand and grow, and some people experience growth and expansion in like a huge kind of enlightenment, and some people go through it progressively. And my journey, I believe, has been very much so progressive and soft. I get impatient with it sometimes. I'm like, okay, I really want this boom alignment. And then I look back and I say, you know what? No, I'm very grateful, because my flow, my progressive flow was just perfectly perfect for who I am. Because perhaps had I had that huge enlightenment, then it would have been like a
I've
big
seen that happen to people, and they get completely scared and tend to run away, actually.
yes.
I've actually seen that happen a lot of times. And it's almost because, and what I see in that, it's not that the light is too bright, it's their own not really used to receiving the good stuff. So when something amazing comes along and everything starts to light up and their heart starts singing and everything starts lining up, and they're like, oh, I need to do this, I want to do this is my path. And then suddenly, because it's like, you know, jumping into the ocean, or imagine you were walking on the sea, right? You're just looking at the sunset, you're looking at the sun, you start walking on the water, and you're like, oh my God, but then you look down and go, oh shit. And then you fall. And it's kind of, there's that feeling of like, what if it's going to go any minute? What if it doesn't work? What if I'm not good enough? And all of this, like, it's like they start closing up in a fear, like, I can't receive that right now. I'll stick to what I had before because I know it and it feels safe, even if it's not that comfortable, even if it's, you know, not really satisfying.
Yeah.
So I've seen that happen lots of times. So I do feel, you know, what you said is really beautiful about it just being a slow opening. And generally, lots of people, when they come to this, they've already been reading the book, or they've been doing the other courses, or they've seen my talks, or they've, you know, worked with someone like yourself or one of the other coaches. And it is that beautiful little hand holding, isn't it? It's like, here's the next step. You're totally safe.
Yeah.
Now, what I would say, if for somebody feeling like that, it's like, check in with yourself how you feel about receiving everything you ever wanted.
Absolutely.
Right? And I'm not saying I can deliver it or Yasmine can deliver that. I'm just saying the power of unconditional love, tapping into that, it seems to have that effect. And we can just share our experiences of that, right? But it does seem to just open the path for everything you always wanted for yourself, for your environment, for
Yeah.
It's the power of love.
For the way things unfold, and I like, after I hopped on the course, I believe I got my validations too, because as a human being we always want that tangible thing, because this is still new. And as I was still in the journey, it's like, okay, we're receiving the breath, it feels different being bathed in it, the words that we say, but it also, like anything else, it takes a bit of time. And I'm not saying time as in years, like it doesn't mean that I need, that's the beauty of all of this. It's not that you need another 33 years to unwind, you know?
No, this is the shortcut.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can, and I believe that it can't get any shorter than that, you know, if it takes, so if you can unwind and like unravel and unfold certain things and change the triggers or whatever is manifesting, because the real deal is that life is going to give you, you're living the same experience in different days, the linear way. It's the same exact experiences on a daily basis, even though they might feel that they're different. It's what thought or what conditioning or what belief is actually playing out for us in this particular day, you know? And then you manifest the experiences that are in your belief system, or how your heart is resonating at the moment, what emotions, what feelings, and everything. And then you keep on facing this. And once you do this and you're clearing everything out, you are actually changing the course of these, because as they reoccur, you're going to be facing them with more awareness. You're going to be facing them from a conscious space.
And consciousness has its own time and unfolding, doesn't it? You can't push it or prod it or make it happen. You know, I was saying this to someone the other day. It's a bit like, I can't remember who I was saying it to, but I was like, you can't tug the petals of the rose open to make it bloom.
Yes.
But what you can do is shine on it. Be the sun, shine love, warmth, appreciation, acknowledgement, validation, recognition, all these beautiful things, and watch that beautiful rose open and unfold, and enjoy the
Yeah. The alchemy,
Enjoy
using
the
your own
experience. And yes,
resources.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And every moment of that is absolutely precious. And you know what, one of the things I love about this, Yasmine, is I've watched yours and many other people's journey and unfolding. And it's like, it's like watching a rose unfold before my eyes. It's absolutely amazing.
And
Let's rewind a little bit. So on the, oh, sorry, go on.
no, so
What
so
you,
on the unraveling. So instead of it taking another 33, or for you to live the, for instance, if I'm to live until I'm 90 or whatever, so whatever is the rest of my life, instead of living the same experiences over and over and over again, if you can make a choice today to actually turn the course of this towards you, expand and open your heart and have a different understanding, a different perspective, a different resonance as well, then these experiences will just fall out. They will no longer be there. And even if they are, they will no longer trigger you in the same way that they used to.
so I feel like what you're really talking about here as well, inside all of this, is the gifts and the realizations and the learnings that came from you going through this course. You want to share with people, because you've had some really beautiful experience. You want to share with people what happened, with what unfolded as your rose opened.
So what unfolded, one of the key learnings that I took, one of the things that really landed for me, and I hadn't done the prerequisites and everything, and that's not the ideal thing
We'll
for the
explain the
course.
prerequisites in a minute, because we'll come back to that. Okay, so we'll
Yeah,
understand what that
but
means.
like when I entered the course, I remember two things that actually really resonated with me was one, um, I got to the understanding or the wisdom that the only problem that we are facing as humans is our belief that we are separate from source. And that's where all the fear stems from. And that's the complete opposite of love.
Do you
So
remember how you came to that realization?
I think I just
Was
went
it
back
in the
home.
training itself, or was it
It was,
afterwards?
it was the first day I went back home, and I think when we started breathing and connecting, and as I was connecting, I went back home, and after that day, I felt like that just occurred to me, that like this just came in from my inner wisdom. It's like it activated just from the breath, and I was like, oh my god, all our beliefs and all our conditioning just stems from one simple thing that happened. It's our belief that we were separated. And that's where the unworthiness and the not good enough and the not feeling of love and everything just stemmed from. That's where all the fear came from, and all the lack, and all the story, in fact. And the beauty of all of this is like from a breath, I had that remembrance. And look at how much the breath gave me of such an activation. The other learning I had was the gift of surrender and resistance. And that's when I got another learning too, of how we can be really surrendered to our spirit and to our breath and to this love that already exists around us. It's already there. It's just waiting for us to just receive it, either via our breath or through our sight or through our ears or through everything, all our being. And I was like, oh my God, I could feel surrender and resistance together. And then you happily explained to me that, isn't it nice to have that resistance? Because that resistance, if it didn't exist, you wouldn't have a body. That resistance is what made your body. And that's when I was like, wow. And that's when I felt that I'm meeting both the worlds together, which is like the surrender, which is from our soul, spirit, and everything, which is surrendered to all that is, all the truth of life. And that resistance, which is our matter, our material world, for which we are blessed to have, because if this didn't exist, we won't be feeling what we're feeling. We won't be able to connect at that deep level.
We wouldn't be
So
having an experience, would we?
any experience, none of it.
Mm.
So these were my two biggest learnings, in fact. And I And as I was there as well, I felt that my gifts were starting, but it was just waiting for me to actually activate them and be on the journey so that I can cleanse even more within myself. And one of them was feeling the presence of one of the angels, which was Archangel Michael. And as I was feeling his presence in the room, and I felt the wings and the feathers, and I felt the embrace coming all the way from behind me. And it was just before you were actually saying that you were being guided by Archangel Michael. And I was like I still remember I was sitting and I was in that breath, and you're speaking, and I just closed my eyes and I just felt that angelic presence. And as you said his name, I opened my eyes. I'm like, okay, I can feel the energy in the room, and I can sense it also. So that all of it, I think, because I'm a person who used to be very analytical, trying to figure things out, and I'm still learning how to move away from all of this. Not move away, just accept who I used to be and start anew and follow my heart, which is what I'm actually doing these days. And this is what I learned from all this method. Being able to create the space, being able to tune in, seeing things, seeing through. I've had wonderful experiences wherein I felt energies flowing from my feet through the ground. And it was the first time that I felt that I've actually landed in my body. And I believe I used to be a person who likes to fly all the time. I like to be in the outer. I want to know what's happening out there, what's in the planets, how do they move? Is there a Milky Way or not? Are there different galaxies? How many are there, And I believe I never really tuned in to be really, really present in my body and that grounded. And this was one of the things that happened to me after the course. Another thing that happened is my connection to all of life, my connection to plants. Um, I receive flowers, and sometimes I see new stems growing when they're just inside a cup of water, not even in soil. My connection to animals, I had experiences wherein I visited the zoo, and I just said, I'm going to open my heart and I'm going to call in that animal. It was a gorilla at that time, and I had another encounter with a chimpanzee and a hippo. And I called them and I said, I want you to come to my side of the window because I want to speak to you. I want to feel you. I want to connect with you. And they came right, and I remember the gorilla, I had my hand on the glass, and the gorilla put its arm on like it put its hand on my hand. And I could feel, and there was glass, and in that moment, the only thing I could feel is love. I couldn't feel the glass. I could feel like I was touching that gorilla, and I spoke to him and I said, just as a just a simple conversation, which is what this method is all about as well, which is thank you for coming, thank you for receiving me, because he's received my resonance. I said, thank you for receiving me, thank you for being here. I love you. And the gorilla got up and gave me a kiss on the window.
Oh.
And the same happened with the chimpanzee, and the same happened with the hippo. I have a photo of a hippo where I put my face on the glass, and the hippo had its mouth on my mouth and had its eyes closed, feeling the energy.
You remind me what you said about the ending of separation, that being the wound of separation. And then look at how those, even a physical thing like glass, doesn't seem to exist anymore because you're not in separation, you're in full connection. Yasmine, do you feel like doing the I Love You Me method, because you did a training for a year, right? We did the course, which was 4 days, and all of that is online now, which is a blessing because obviously we haven't been able to travel for the last nearly a year. So thankfully I got that training and it's all up online and people can do it. And there's a lot of support for doing it online. We'll talk about that in a moment. But you did the 4 days and then we did the rest of the year and all of that training online. Now, whilst you were doing that, did it feel like, how did it feel in terms of these inner senses coming online? Is that something that was directly related to the I Love You Me, or do you think that was something else?
No, I think that this this helped me tap into these extrasensory abilities for sure. Because what happened as I was practicing all of this, I remember as I started practicing and as I started bringing in clients. So one of the things is to make sure that we are in a space that is set up to hold beings who are coming ready to transform, ready to change. And even if they're not, just being there, held, seen, heard, felt, was the thing. So as I was setting the space, I remember setting certain dedications, and that's also what landed for me. There are certain words that we were saying, for instance, for the highest good of all. And I remember when I used to say these words, I remember I used to zoom out of all Mother Earth. I like, as I'm saying them, I used to feel that I zoomed out of Earth, and I used to feel that these words are like covering all of Mother Earth. Like when I say it for the highest good of all, it's like it's actually happening as I say it. And as I grew with this method and as I progressed and started doing meditations, I even started feeling of when I say certain words, I can see I can see the vibration of the sound of the words.
Right.
How they are echoing in all of the space. I can see the space shifting and changing. And as I said, I never used to be like a seer kind of person. I know that I believe that everybody has these abilities. It's just that we haven't tapped into them because we have a lot of conditioning that has closed down. It's shut down these doors. So as I said these words and as I trusted and believed more in myself, hearing my own voice echoing, listening, seeing as it moved, all of it was just magnificent. For me, it's like I can see it landing into people. I can even feel when people are breathing up, where are they breathing to? Either in my own body or either just by seeing them and observing them from that space of love that's working through us already, that's already available to us.
Right? That's what you said earlier.
Yeah.
When you talked about the shift in perspective, when you will see, when you're in that love, you see everything differently.
Everything.
And, bringing that into what you said about being the little baby and coming back to that purity, reconnecting to that which you were designed to be. And I think of babies a little, this sounds really silly, but like an acorn. The acorn, we don't look at an acorn and see the incredible big oak tree that it's going to become. We just see this little thing and we can go, think
okay.
nothing of it. But
Yeah.
when it's planted and it's watered and it's nurtured and it's given all of the right conditions that it needs, it will thrive and it will become this incredible massive oak tree. And babies are a bit the same. They're this beautiful little thing that you might not be able to see what they're going to become. And there's nothing you need to actually put on top of that little baby to make it become something. And that's really what the world does to us, isn't it? That's the layers, that's the conditioning, that's the believe this and believe this and believe this and becoming trained. But to take that little baby yourself and go, right, I'm now going to give you all of the conditions that you actually have always needed for you to become who you were always designed to be. And we could call that, sometimes I call it the divine blueprint, actually living according to your divine design and becoming that. And I feel like that's a lot of where people struggle, is like they know they get a sense of there's something inside that needs to break out. There's a part inside of me that needs to crack open and I need to crack my shell, lots of people say, and I just need to break out. And I think I've even heard you saying that, I just needed to break out. And you're looking for something and trying this and trying that and trying this and trying that by putting it on again, putting this on, trying this on, putting more layers, more information. And I Love You Me does the exact opposite of that in a lot of ways. It's like, it's in fact in every way, it's like come back and clean all of that stuff off. Come back to your original self and nurture and grow and flourish. So of course then your consciousness is going to get super attuned, because you're spending all of that time not lost out here in the wilderness, but tuned back in here where your consciousness needs to be, where you need it. And you're sharpening and honing that consciousness, and then all of whatever your gifts are, whatever your sensitivity, your particular strength, or something that, you know, for you it's plants and animals. You've got an incredible sensitivity with that, and it's really beautiful. And so that's what's come out of this even more so. And I just wanted to share for everybody else. And in fact, anybody else who's watching this, who's knows anything about I Love You Me or has been practicing it. I know some of you are here with us on the live tonight. Thanks for being here, everyone. Maybe just share what's happened with you in terms of your gifts opening, what came online for you.
Even, you know, in the sense of manifestation as well, like calling in the right people to support you. It's like you call in the right tribe, you call in the right people. It's like also reconciliation with people you haven't gotten in touch with for such a long time, and then they are required there in your life to sustain you, to hold that space for you to grow, to even mirror what self-love is for you sometimes. You know, it's like, and like you rightly said, I even came out with a quote because of this process, and I'm like, it's about undoing the doings and unlearning the learnings, because you are already perfect by design. You know, this is coming from a space where you're saying to people, you are whole and complete. It's just that you need to have this conversation to nurture something that you have left a long time ago, something that you've abandoned, something that you've lost, something you were perhaps afraid to tap into. And just getting into that space and flowing through all of this and making it grow. And then through that conversation, empowering yourself to live on a day to day basis in a different way, in a different perspective. I used to be a warrior and a fighter. I'm no longer that person.
Mm.
I'm a person who now surrenders, and I'm like, okay, let's wait and see. And a lot of people around me tell me, well, you need to take action for this to happen. And I'm like, yes, I know that it needs to be a balanced approach, but it needs to be a balanced approach. It's not that I need to do. And then I'm like burnt out and waiting for something to come in. It's more of, okay, what wants and needs to happen now for me? How do I need to do it? And you're just, when you
Aligned action,
connect, yeah, you take
aligned
aligned
living, isn't
action. And it could be just small
it?
tasks that you do during the day, and that's already good enough.
Yeah, and everything falls into place in a different way, because it's about receiving, isn't it? It's coming
Yeah.
back to receiving.
Yeah.
So Yasmine, let's talk about some practicalities. What can people expect? So if somebody's thinking about, is this right for me, doing the self-love, I Love You Me practitioner course, can you just tell people a little bit about like what they will actually learn and what's it good for as well? Who can it help?
So what they will learn, I think, is so primarily because I think that's what everybody wants at the end of the day. It's the tool. What you're gonna get out of it is your own self-development, and plus, in addition to that, you gifting your own presence to somebody else to actually flourish and get their gifts online, unravel their gifts as well. So I think the whole journey entails, and I love the journey. I remember when I was doing it, Zoom was not available in Dubai, and I didn't miss a single call, because for me it was very crucial. So I did the 4 days, and then we had a 12 12 webinars after that, where
12 monthly.
12 monthly, every month we had a webinar, and where we were being held and where we were being seen and heard and supported on the journey in terms of by Tara, of course. And it was like, what needs to happen next, how are we doing, what's our development, and supporting us on our journey of our case studies. And that's how I persevered and I flowed through. So in terms of practicalities, I think anyone who loves helping people and wants something that is that deep, yet so simple, It's so simple. And I think that's where we all get confused. And I think this is also the beautiful part of the learning of, going back to that simplicity and that realness and that authenticity, because then it becomes part of your daily conversations. You know, you're just being there with that person. You're just saying, I love you. I used to say, love you, and now I think I'm like, why did we never say I? Why are we afraid of saying I? So the concepts and the meanings and everything changes. And this conversation and setting the space and everything is just so beautiful. I've seen transformations. I've seen people who had a full journey of 6 sessions, and then they connected all the dots of every single session, and they're like, okay, now I know my sense of passion in life and what's my purpose. That's what I realized out of this. Some people believed about themselves that they could never get into that depth within themselves. And they said, I visited places and spaces that I never knew existed within me. I never knew it existed in that way, at least. How we store it is different than how it looks on the outside. I've had people have transformations in meditations. I was doing a meditation, someone came in and she's like, my world is super dark. I can't see, I see only darkness. And she went into the meditation, she's like, I saw my little me golden with a purple aura, beautiful and glowing on the inside. And I was like, would you be willing to actually shine that through to the outside? Because that's what your little you is waiting for. So I think the key here is being real and being present and being authentic and being brave and being willing to actually take on a journey that will transform you and transform others with you. And having a community to support and having these monthly calls, for me, these were priceless, to be honest. I learned so much. I learned so much from the people who shared on the calls, from the vulnerability that came out. I'm not a person, I'm used to always, this is how I used to be, a queen of positivity. And sometimes people still say that you're like the queen of positivity. You're always smiling and you always find something to change our perspective. And after I took on this course, and I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be the person who's spreading positivity. I want to be the person who's spreading love and allowing people to be real and allowing people to feel whatever they're feeling, because it's absolutely okay.
Wow, that's really, really beautiful. So you've had clients, obviously you qualified almost a year ago coming up.
Yes.
And so what happened since then? What happened when you finished the training?
So what happened when I finished the training, I took some time. I think I took a couple of months out, and then I set a dedication to do my case studies, and that's where the journey started, and it just fell into place. And then after that, I took some time off because I believe that a lot was changing within me too. Because as I was doing sessions with people, there was a lot that was being mirrored for me too. So a lot had to be done with me as well. I had to be with myself sometimes, and I just allowed things to flow and flourish. And then nicely, I joined in the mentorship course, which I was very, very excited about. And I believe that's where a lot of more learning actually came in as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's pause on that part and just go back. It's like, oh, hold on a sec. Let's just get to grips with the I Love You Me practitioner training, the first level, which you completed. And then you went on and started, actually, that came a little bit later, but you've started then going out and holding meditations and seeing clients, didn't you? Basically after you graduated, you did all your case studies.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some details. So on the course, let's talk about what you actually get. In fact, I'm not going to say everything that you're going to get. Guys, just go to the website. You can read all about it there. And there's a whole bunch of other testimonials there from lots of other people that have done the courses. Were you about to say something?
Yeah, what you get from the course is, for me, it put everything together and it made a lot of sense. From the breathe, and from the breath and the receiving part, and then the dedication, and then going through the process and the meanings of the words and how they land and how different it is than what our initial interpretations of it were. And then coming home to the truth and bringing all this back to you and the learnings that come. I think you get everything out of this course. Like, it's a 4-day course. And I repeated the online training because now people are going to get it online, right?
Yes, it's always
And
there.
when I repeated the online training, I felt like I was inside. Like, it didn't feel like it was online. I just felt the same realness which I felt when I was present in that course.
Yeah.
For the people who are resistant on taking online training, because I know that some people are like, but online is different than actually being physical. Yes, everything has its glamour, but I think, but that's how we frame it in our own meaning, you know? You change the meaning and everything changes. When I did the online course, I felt like I was in the training again.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, it can be just another one of those things about, oh, I'm going to make this reason because actually maybe I'm afraid of really opening up and seeing who I am and really falling in love with who I am in the most divine and incredible way. So our fears can present in lots of funny little ways, can't they? And come up with all kinds of excuses and reasons that are really not actually very real. They're there. They're the old patterns there to protect us. And a lot of people have, like I said earlier, a lot of people have protection around not almost wanting to be happy or to be fulfilled or to, open up and receive what they've always wanted because we didn't get that as a child, or it hasn't, it wasn't safe to do so before with other people or other things. But this one, it's between you and you, isn't it? It's like, even though I'm there and I've produced the videos and it's me teaching the main bulk of the content, or even when you're working with a teacher or a mentor inside the training, it's still a you and you relationship, isn't it? It's your own journey, and there really isn't a middleman. It's your own building, I think, of your foundations and coming and building that relationship.
Yeah.
So when it comes to actually seeing clients and working and putting it into practice, Yasmine, how's that been for you?
It's been going well. Some people, like, I've had people who came and said, for instance, self-love, oh, I love myself. And I'm like, yeah, how do you love yourself? And they're like, yeah, I look at myself in the mirror and I say, wow, I'm pretty, I'm beautiful, and all these affirmations. And I was like, that's not self-love. you know Self-love is much deeper than all of this. It's actually going through, in fact, all the doors that you've closed, that are perhaps places that you haven't visited. It's getting into that space that we often call the unknown. The unknown is not outside of us. It's the unknown that's within us.
Right.
It's the unconscious known, you know? That's the unknown.
So how does it feel for you when you're working with people and you're being a self-love coach and you're being part of somebody's journey back home to themselves? What's that like for you, actually working with that?
For me, I used to be really, really enthusiastic. Like, I used to feel like, where are we visiting today? I was really
Yeah.
intrigued and interested. Like, what is going to mirror for me? What's going to show up right now? What's going to be the trigger? You know? And as I used to do it, and as I used to breathe, and I think I experienced that also during the course, as you breathe with somebody else, it's an honor to hold that space and to give them that gift of presence.
It's very sacred, isn't it? It's not
Yeah.
like any other coaching, any other psychotherapy or anything.
No, it's not the same, and it's not that we're saying that that doesn't work. It works for certain people who want to have that, who want to have that experience. But this is quite different in the sense as just breathing with someone and being grounded and being able to hold the space for them. I've done sessions online, and they are as transformational as sessions face to face,
Right, exactly.
because the space is the same. Again, we're going back to the same point of separation. When there is breath, there is no longer separation. When there is love, no longer separation.
Wow. Wow, that's beautiful. So going forward, okay, so if anybody's interested and they want to learn more about this training, there's a link either below or above this video, wherever it is. It's on my website, taraloveperry.com, and you can go and check out being a self-love coach or learning to become one on the training. I think pretty much all the questions there are asked, but generally most people, either they say, oh, I don't know if I've got time, and how much time will it take up? Yasmine, how much time, quickly, how much time did it take up for you? Like, did it take over your life?
It was I think for the online course, dedicating 4 days, and I think it didn't take as much time as I was on the training, because in the training, the breaks are decided by you. Sometimes, like when I did the online course, I didn't feel like I needed to take breaks. So it depends. It really depends on the person. But if it's, I believe it's like 19 hours of teaching, which can be split over 4 days. So that's like 5 hours each day, top
You
max.
can do it over a weekend if you're a
Yeah.
crammer.
Yes.
I watched it back to back when I was uploading it onto the course page. I ended up watching every single one back to back.
And you know, the online training, I love the fact that because there's a section underneath every video that's like recap and the reflection for the trainee to actually look back and see what they've learned from the video, how can they apply it, where in, like, I love that bit because it's like you're learning and you're also reflecting. So that's like 19 hours of training. So that's like 4 days, 5 hours each. And then you have the monthly calls, which take up to 3 hours, for instance, once a month, which is just once a month. And then you have the Facebook check ins, and that's absolutely up to you and up to the person who wants to share and everything. I never used to do videos. I did videos later on as I grew within the community and everything. And that depends on how much you want to share. I remember we used to share a lot of our vulnerabilities. I used to write certain things as well there, and you get a lot of comments from people who actually like-hearted people, you know, who are connecting with you at the same level because they've done the training with you.
And you also got really good at doing videos, didn't you? You had a lot
Yeah.
of practice doing the videos, so you got really good at it.
I was camera shy, and I always used to feel like I don't want to be on a video. I don't want to speak. I don't want to speak to a camera. That doesn't feel right, you know. And then as I was attending the webinars, although my camera was never on because Zoom wasn't working, so my camera wasn't on, and I used to do the videos and I used to be there, but then that gave me the confidence of being able to share and speak out when other people were there. So
I hear that a lot as well. Lots of people say that, who think, I can't do that, I don't want to be seen. And it's like, well, hello, welcome to self-love. You need it. You
but
need
that's
it.
part of the growth. So
It
that's
is.
the time that I invested. And then as I grew, I started investing more time into doing I Love You Me on myself. I created the I Love You Me challenge, which was within the group, which is very
Yeah, you did.
sacred.
You're a leader in the group already.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course then there's the case studies, and there are 30 case studies. We do request that you do 30, but that's divided up in a certain way so that 30 might sound overwhelming, but it's actually like 5 people, 6 sessions. So you
Yeah.
just work with 5 people.
So 5 people, 6 sessions, and you can split them the way you want. You can have one person every day. You can have, there was once I had 2 people in the same day. So it's up to you on how you manage your time. But I like 30 sessions, case studies, 30 hours ideally. So the session is 30 an hour each.
But when you
So
put that into over a year, and even if you leave it until the last 6 months, or even
yeah,
if you leave it until the last 3 months,
yeah, that's not a lot.
that's 90 days and 30 case studies. So there's
It's
time,
not,
right?
yeah.
There's
And
time.
then
Time in reality is not really an issue here,
no.
because you can fit it around.
Yeah. And I think it's all about priorities as well. Like, how much do you want to invest? What you invest is what you receive as well.
I was just going to say about money as well. Do you feel like it's a worthwhile investment in terms of financial investment?
For me, I believe it was because I was not just paying for the course, I paid for the course and then 12 months of support. and then 30 case studies that were being reviewed and I was receiving feedback on, so that I can actually, you know, fine tune my skills into getting things into practice and getting the most out of it. Because as you start, you're still starting with a new learning, and that's the beauty, you know, you learn not to judge anymore and not to be hard on yourself, and just to flow with it and be okay with whatever comes up. So I think it was worthwhile, and I think the support that I received was worthwhile as well.
And in terms of like investing that much time and energy and money into a year, and because some people are worried about the money, and like, because I think sometimes it feels like, well, that's money that I could, you know, save for a holiday, or I could, I don't know, do something else with it. Feels like it's really important. And of course, our practical needs are really important. We have families to take care of and people we love. But if there's somebody sitting on the fence and going, you know, I don't know what to do, will it be okay financially? Is it going to be worth it financially? What would you say to them?
For me, I say if your heart is guiding you to take that step, then just follow through. Because what you pay, like I think I've been catered for all this time. Yes, I've budgeted this, but I've budgeted I've budgeted it for something else, and that hasn't prevented me from doing something else. And I believe if your heart is calling for it, like I would ask myself this question, and I think about it this way: how much am I worth? You know, this is something I'm investing in myself, and then I'm gonna pay it forward for other people, and I'm gonna make money out of it. It's not that you're doing it and it's like sitting on the shelf and you're not doing anything about it. It's an investment. It's actually an investment that's gonna give you a return in a way or the other. It's gonna give you soul fulfillment, and it's gonna give you that monetary return because people are gonna pay for your sessions.
And people need it a lot right now, don't they?
Yes, I believe they do. Maybe they're not aware, but I believe they do.
Yeah, no, very much so. So Yasmin, thank you for spending this time. I know we've gone already over an hour, so I want us to wrap this up. But thank you, everyone. It's like, isn't it amazing how time just changes? It's like, oh, wow. Is there anything else? I mean, you've said a lot of really beautiful things tonight, and I haven't really even had to ask you very much. You're just flowering and blossoming. And I just tell everybody what you're doing going forward. Like
So what I'm doing is I'm ready to, like, I'm receiving clients for my one-to-ones. I want to see transformations and everything. I'm doing the mentoring course, of course, as well. And I would really,
we need to explain that part. We need to explain that part because you are, I'll explain it. You are the first ever person, and you're not quite qualified yet, but you will be very soon. You're very ready to become the level 2. So first of all, level 1, becoming a practitioner, working with people on a one-to-one level. And then there's level 2, somebody who works in groups and mentors and works with and trains the practitioners. So you are the very first I Love You Me mentor, and you're going to be supporting a group of students that are coming in April, right? The course starts on the 6th of April, but there is prerequisite material. There's things to learn and catch up with before you jump into the professional learning. So that's what you meant earlier about prerequisite material, right? And we're taking applications now and receiving people and connecting and seeing if we're a good fit for each other. But Yasmine, effectively, you're the very first one to become a soon to be qualified I Love You Me mentor and be taking the people on a journey.
and I'm
Like
ready
you
for
did.
that. And I can't wait to see, witnessing everybody's transformations, because I've been going through this for this whole year and seeing the batch that is to graduate as coaches, and I'm super proud of them and humbled by their journey, because I've learned so much. Hadn't they existed, I wouldn't have grown to being a
Right,
mentor as well. So
right. How much more you learn.
yeah,
That's how I do. That's what happens to me.
and the interactions and the learnings and their sharings and my sharings and my learnings, and me teaching as well and mentoring them and guiding them, and me seeing them flourish and feel held and feel present with all of it is just amazing. So definitely from my heart, I say that anybody who's willing and feels the urge the moment they actually get into the website, and they feel that this is really right for them, and they're brave in their heart and courageous to take on this stuff, because it's a journey like any other journey. We're not saying you're going to sail on an island and it's like, wow, there are going to be days
There's
where
always
everything's
storms.
amazing. And there are days where there's a storm, and that's, I believe, that's the beauty of all of it, you know. Because as you move forward, I've had times where my ego spiked, and it's like, okay, I'm the coach, I know. And then I had to like plunge down and be like, hello, you need to get back to the ground, you know, be humble again. Because
Yeah.
only in humility you can transform things. So it's a learning journey, and I believe I'm ready to take on people who are brave, enthusiastic, people who feel that they really want to help people. And rather than giving advice and opinions, because we're very good at that, we've gotten used to it, you know, this is what's good and this is what I think and all of that, and you want to be real actually and drive that conversation with that person, or let them even lead that conversation, I think this is the tool for you. This is the training for you. If you're a big empath and you sit with people and you feel everything and you absorb, this is also the training for you, because you will learn how to discern as well what is yours and what isn't, and what's being mirrored and what you need to learn and what you don't need to learn. If you're a person who wants to develop their extrasensory abilities, because we all have it, we've all had it since we were born. That's why the child cries most of the time when it doesn't feel right, because they're sensing everything. They're sensing the space, the wind, everything. And when you, if you want to open up to all of this and get back to this and actually feel all of life with your core and your depth, that's training for you. And
So
some who's committed to actually feel, want to be held in a space where there are other human beings who are ready to be vulnerable too, that's the space for you.
I'm just thinking of a quote that my mum always used to say. She read A Course in Miracles back when I was a teenager. And this quote comes from that book. Love brings up everything unlike itself. I don't know if that's word for word verbatim in that quote, but it's something like that. Love brings up everything unlike itself. So yeah, if you're ready for love, if you're ready to see who you are and release and clean and forgive and accept and appreciate and have a completely transformational and transformative relationship with every aspect of yourself, and therefore with everybody else around you. Right? Because it ripples out, it massively shifts every dynamic and every parameter, and you learn the skills for how to navigate through your relationships and communication. You learn the skills of when a storm hits, where's your safe harbor? What do you need to do? How to stay open with your heart and be in that heart resonance, that heart field, and make a huge impact in a love field instead of like in your fear and panic. So if this feels right to you, you're curious, you want to know more, and you feel the attraction with beautiful Yasmine. And by the way, this is not just for women. I know we're both women and we're talking about this, but there's also lots of men that have done this course. It's not gender specific, it's not age specific, it's not color specific or country specific. It's non-specific. It's if you're a human being and you feel this and you're curious and you want to know more, take the next step, go and have a look on that website, watch the videos, read the content. There's a button that says apply here, and you can send in an application form. You'll receive one via email. You can fill it in. It's an online form, and you fill it in, and then Yasmine and I will receive that, and then they will receive a lovely 20-30 minute conversation, an interview with you, Yasmine, won't they? And they'll connect with you and you'll get to meet. So any other questions you have, you can ask Yasmine at that website, on the interview. And of course, I'm not just leaving you in the deep end here, Yasmine. Of course, I'm going to be there too. I'm still going to be showing up regularly on the webinars, and I'm still going to be here as well, supporting, guiding, coaching, encouraging, and supporting Yasmine as well through her amazing journey. And I have to say, Yasmine, I'm super proud of you.
Thank you.
You know, it's such a gift for me to have been able to participate and share in this journey with you over the last couple of years and watch you flourish. And you are absolutely radiant and so in your power. And you know, absolutely, you've got so many gifts to share with people as well. And I know whoever has this time with you they're going to have a really amazing time, really amazing time. So let it begin.
Yes.
Is there anything else? Is there anything else you want to say before we hop off?
No, I just want to say thank you to my parents who brought me to life, and thank you for me choosing to be alive here. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sharing all this space. And thank you to my brother and sister for all their support. And thank you to you for all the support and all the healers that I've met throughout my journey, where I've evolved to land wherever I've landed. And I've decided to take this forward from here. Thank
Oh,
you.
you're going to be fantastic. You are fantastic. You've got lots of support coming up here on the chat. Loads of people are like so proud of you. You're the best self-love coach. You're an inspiration. We're very proud of you. There's loads of support and love coming for you here. And these are the people whose lives you've already touched and impacted. So self-love is a ripple, isn't it? It's like, I love you, me. I love you, we. It just becomes an everybody thing. It unites us, in fact, more than anything else.
Absolutely. And it ignites that gratitude from deep within. And that's the real gratitude.
Absolutely. What a note to end on. Thank you, my beautiful girl. Love you so much. Thank you all for watching, everyone. Check out the link and we'll see you on the other side. Bye. Loads of love.
Bye.